SMS David to 41076 and we'll call you back. SMS now.
Don't do that.
There were times when I would come home and I would go straight to bed because if it like at 10, then the next morning at 5 I'm out. So a week or two goes by.
You came home while you were sleeping. You left while you were sleeping.
Yes. All Lena made. Now I'm trying to adjust all those things. VR6 in fact. It's in a boot.
Why? It sound system.
Sound system. Screen says in the back of the boot of the car.
What?
So when you open the boot of the car, the screen would just flip out.
TV.
So ke dlala the music video because music video I can know it will sound. So but in his free park. Do you remember in his free park?
That's what I'm imagining this at a park.
But in his free park,
yes.
And you become the guy. And when you leave, the party ends.
King David Studio Podcast.
How do you get Suburban Bliss and when does that happen? Does it happen after Dube on Monday?
No. Dube on Monday happened after Suburban Bliss.
Okay, yes.
So, but I think, I could be mistaken, but I think they were running concurrently at some point.
Yes.
You know,
because it lasted long, Suburban Bliss.
Suburban Bliss
Bliss
was the first 54 episode show.
Because then Nerishabu did 13.
Yeah, Nerishabu did 13. Only lucky. You know, when Nerishabu 26, you know. Yeah, 54. From the beginning, from the onset, when
it was commissioned.
It was from the onset when it got commissioned. Jeez. That's another story, you know. So I'm doing a play, Yabra Zakes Mda, called You Fool, How Can the Sky Fall? Right? Directed by Peter Sipuma.
Yes.
And at the time, I didn't know how Peter le endamol, banali relationship. Right? Okay. And so, Sputla Sibuhudi, right? Prasputla Nkwesheng, Umo playing Lin. But go casting, I'm the one on a car.
Okay. Okay.
So I think Sputla actually had a car, but something had happened to his car. And Sputla said to me, Amfanaman, can I lead this audition? Seriously, you know, tomorrow or whatever. You know, ka lunchtime, reda, fast. Lo shy audition reboy. I get to the audition, Lepra Sputla, and ngamle yahloza, yatlhagada. I know you guys don't have time because so we'll do this quickly. Switch on camera, switch on the lights.
You're not part of this.
No.
You're just watching.
Reception.
Yes.
I'm reading for this guy, so I can't watch him
and
read at the same time. So he comes back, go reception. Are you here for the audition? No. Why? No, that's confusing. No, I didn't know about. I didn't know about this. You know. Okay.
I'm a driver.
Yeah. Steady man. Okay. Do you mind helping me? Take 2 minutes, just read the script quickly, and then just feed Sputla, right? And so I get in. Sputla was auditioning for the character I was playing. I ended up playing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder how did he take that, but carry on.
Yeah. No, it worked out well. So then I'm reading for Sputla. But remember, I'm not under pressure. He is. So
actor. Sure.
Then the director says, okay, you got to read it in a little bit of a natural, you know, he's your brother, you know, sharp. I get under pressure. Sputla, I shoot into high, refete, revive. 2 days later, Prapita, hey man, come here. Did you audition for Suburban Bliss? I'm like, no, Sputla did, but I helped him. But yeah, and now I'm like, hang on, For which character? Because I think I had seen, it was mostly an elderly, the
cast,
person who was going to be playing the big brother was going to be Takatsabo David Petwe.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's older than you.
Then Sputla was going to play the character I ended up playing.
Yeah.
They changed the whole thing after seeing Sputla and I together. But no, we're coming down a little bit. So Sputla will play the brother.
You play the older brother, you the younger brother.
Then he'll play the younger brother. That's how I ended up.
Crazy.
That's how I ended up.
Right place, right time.
Right place, right time. And that's why till this day, I tell the youth, it's always better to do than not to. If somebody asks you to help them out, even if it's just learning a monologue, if you have the time, just do it.
True.
Just do it.
Even fast move a camera we be there.
Just do it. Because there's a lesson in every one of those things.
Yeah. And an opportunity, a hidden opportunity.
Somebody was asking me about being now and still being called for auditions. Because I know Ntosh was sitting here and he was...
Look, it's a question that's been asked a lot in this room.
Yeah.
And not all agree. And there's some who say, hey man, that's how I get work.
Yeah. I have a little bit of a different take.
Okay.
My take is that I think every artist needs their 10,000 hours.
Yes.
Musicians can sit in a room and sing, even if they're singing along with a record, but they're singing. That means they're training their vocal cords, they're training themselves how to, how to belt out, how to come back. Actors don't have that.
You can't just act.
You can't just act.
Like you were singing in the toilet.
Right.
You can't
just act. But the only way to do it is, so for me, auditions contribute to my 10,000 hours.
They give you a chance to...
They give me a chance to play around.
Yes.
To play around.
Yes.
And there are some casting houses now who know this guy is going to come in here and have fun.
And that's it.
Yeah. Whether he gets the role or not, he's going to come in here, have fun, and go.
Do you know, though, some of the reasons some of the established actors say that you know my work, you know my range?
True.
By now, you should call instead of asking me to do this.
But the industry is also changing so fast. So fast. And some of the people been given those opportunities. How shall I all right? D-boy. Yeah.
Half cooked.
Yeah. Nah.
Yes.
So how they gonna recognize brilliance or moments of brilliance?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I understand actors who say, no, you know my work. But I also understand as the industry is changing, for example, Netflix shows. We don't know who makes the decisions.
No.
Because it's not the production house on its own. The production house will fight for the actor they want. How solid are, but guys. Then they go, but we're not. Then the producer goes, no.
That's the guy.
That's the guy.
Yes.
Trust me. That guy is going to pull it off. You know what I mean? But also you have youngsters who are coming from vets and
is it TUT?
TUT,
Yes.
who are new commissioning editors, or rather even production producers, who they know you, but they don't really know your capabilities.
No.
And then there's another layer to it. The other layer is that often they want to match you with somebody else. Yeah. So if Kitlodlala, the rich father, but they know another lady to, do their energies sort of work together. Yeah. And those are things I think.
They want to see that as well.
think. There are times when I agree with actors who say, you know my work. When I know half of the people in that space.
You're saying,
And I go, but I've worked with him. I've worked with her. So how do they not know
what I can do?
What I can do, yeah.
Just.
There are times. But most of the time for me, it's a contribution to my 10,000 hours.
And
it's an opportunity to go play around.
To go and say, let me read this. I like this guy. Let me go show them my interpretation of this guy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you're going to win an award for Suburban Bliss.
Yeah, a few. Yeah, a few. Yeah, a few for Suburban Bliss, a couple for Joburg Blues, which came after. I loved Joburg Blues, man. I was very sad. Joburg Blues just ran one season of 26 episodes.
What is it that stood out about it for you?
It was, I think, the artistic, also because it was a show about actors, about struggling actors who are trying to find, it's almost like Entourage, if you remember the TV show Entourage.
Yeah.
So, by the way, we did that first before Entourage.
Oh.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, for me, that was it. And it was the story of struggling actors. And I love that, because
I think you connected with it.
I connected with it.
Yes.
I connected with the fact that, hey, I didn't say. Ugcina uthola awuthi ewibone inkosibaya ning it's a finder kostrateng. Just to get along. You know what I mean? Just finder. Yeah, we've done that. We've recently I saw people sort of making fun of Ronnie Nyakal, Papa Action,
Yes.
because onali Uber, and I was like, people, I don't know how South Africans right now don't understand. Hore, this for us is a job, but it's a tough job to keep going. In between, you want to do other things that will bring in steady,
income.
Steady income. Yeah.
There's this misunderstanding of South Africans is quite strong, it seems. I wasn't aware of it until I had actors sitting on that chair to say, hey man, I'm not the rich guy I play.
Yeah.
On TV.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yes. Actually, Spootler said that.
You know what's very sad about that is that sometimes even the actors believe that they are the rich guy they play.
Oh no, that's a problem.
No, I've seen some arrogant young talent, and I want you to underline that. I said talent at the end, because you then go, yeah, this is so misplaced. This young man thinks. One young guy told me, 2020, we're trying to put something together. But he was already doing quite a lot of stuff, ETV, quite a lot of stuff. And said, I found out Kwadulante and Le Rentaliada. And I said, why do you do that to yourself?
Was it heavy?
And I said, why? As Grootman Lahau, I'll be, history will judge me for this if I don't ask this question. Maybe I need to understand. And he said to me, the right address, Prates. And I remember going, oh, okay, the right address for what? So it's like, when people have these conversations, sorry, I play golf because that's where I do my business. And I go, no. No. Yeah. Maybe you're creating a community around yourself through playing golf in that environment.
In that world, yes.
Yeah, you get to know people. But you can't tell me that you play golf so you can get business.
Or you live in that house.
Yeah, or you live in that house.
Get acting jobs.
So you are going to get acting jobs. I was like, no. That's right now. Ki Instagram buantanaka. Yeah. Right now, you're telling me stories are Instagram. I was shocked to find out, Corey, some of our youngsters in the industry at the moment are living, Kodi rentals dealing so expensive.
Yeah. With that observation, do you make a lot of observation about bed generally? Because I asked this question to Chico Twala, and the question was, musicians die poor. And that seems to be a problem. And it's a problem that we as non-musicians are just observing. Sure. And what causes it? He gave a number of answers, but one of them was, hey, you must manage your money better.
Yeah.
Like all of us.
Yeah.
And you must know your world. That you earn manje, Jan, Feb, March, and then it's quiet for a while. And then you earn again in August. That's possible. And what do you do if you know that that's how your money works? You can't then spend it all in that 3 months. Yeah. You have to plan ahead and so forth. Yeah. Have you found that, having been in the business for so long?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I made those mistakes.
There you go.
You know, I made those mistakes, which is how I knew about Max Mojapelo, because I listened to him. You know, I listened to this guy. It's uncomfortable, but I listened to him.
Yeah.
And I think my saving grace has always been a very simplistic one. Very simplistic advice from Magrotman. We have lived it.
Of course.
Barring, if you get paid 10 rand, you use 5 rand.
Yes.
The other 5 rand, it might have to last you for another 3 months.
Yes.
You know. So it was that kind of thing. That's the simplest way to sort of, you know.
So you're not telling a story you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've made those mistakes where like, you know, at some point VR6 in fact. It's in a boot.
Why? It sounds
The sound system. Screen in the back of the boot of the car.
What?
So when you open the boot of the car, the screen would just flip out.
TV.
So ke dlala the music video. Because music video I can know it will sound. So but in his free park. Do you remember in his free park?
That's I'm imagining this at a park.
But in his free park,
Yes.
and you become the guy. And when you leave, the party ends. Like everybody's like,
The guy with the sound and the videos is gone.
but it was great for my young ego. You know, hey. But that became a lesson quickly where I learned, no, I can't spend the same amount of money on sound system that is, I could have bought the car for cash.
Jeez. Or it's the same amount of money for what could be rent or
Absolutely.
black plum.
Absolutely.
Jesus.
And then the industry will humble you very quickly. Because no unale sound system in Tsoemo. You are known everywhere. But ibile by memorize it number plate ya karahao. Banyana. By memorize it number plate ya karahao. But the rental company dileta kitse dia kena.
Jesus.
Yeah. Rent is due.
You look good in the streets.
You look good on the streets.
Marimohai.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
And those are common mistakes.
So that balance. And I think generally it's not just artists. I think generally
Yeah.
we never got the opportunity to have financial literacy, you know.
From who?
From who?
Yeah. It's not in our education
But
system.
yeah, but indlela ibuza kuba phambili baphi lapho.
Abekho. Bebanganayo nemali.
Because nabo abanayo.
Yeah. They don't know this role.
Yeah, they don't know that, you know.
Yes.
And only now South Africans are beginning to kind of, you can see,
Yeah.
for Honaledi out, it's a slim kanyo. You know, it's a slim kanyo.
Yeah.
And I sincerely believe, and most people might disagree with me, I sincerely believe, Jorge, a big part of it starts with family.
Yes. 100%.
Once you get to a point where you're like, I want to start a family. Remember, the greatest choice, or rather decision, to be made in life is the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with.
Justice. So you make that mistake.
If you make that mistake, then it's chai for you, eh?
That says a lot about your woman.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, not Mediaka Slim.
Yeah.
First of all, Mediaka is a lot more educated than I am.
Well, when you were half covert, she was really covert.
No, she was really covert. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Nane ke ya kilo visita. Ke tswa ka window. Yeah, now una dula
That's
until lecture ifela, you know. Mediaka Slim, but she's also just an amazing human being.
Yeah.
She thinks she's funny. She's funny by default. Have you met those people?
Yeah, they're not aware.
Yeah, because
half the time.
she's actually an academic.
Yes.
So she would say things and then you go, that's so funny. And then she gets annoyed, or you thought her seriousness is a joke. You know.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But extremely caring.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of handling family and putting family together is because she really cares deeply.
Wow.
You know, really cares deeply. Ke na lo kwata ke re ke batla something, you know, batla PS3. And then maybe I will, love, can we get it next month? Or can we get it next year? Ke spana ka thata mfetla.
Tlamehile PS4
right now.
next
Yeah. Ke tlamehile PS4. It's like it's already the old school, And then you wait and you realize, she was right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because now you were able to actually buy the PS4 ka interest.
Yeah.
instead of kanyogo.
What is her area of interest academically?
International relations.
Okay. Yeah.
So
she
that's another
she must
thing.
have strong opinions on Trump, but anyway, that's a different story.
Very, very, very. Also, Mediaka, because she's very interested in the news and in the world, what's happening. She calls out certain things, and then I go, "Ke mang sangoma ko hen?"
Oh.
Yeah. Should see it coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even in politics, she would see things coming and she goes, that guy, unless if I'm not hearing him right, but he's most likely to. And then it happens and I go, yo.
So it's her inside, her academic insight. Yeah. Is there a nice balance between the two of you, the artist and the academic?
For the kids, amazing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get frustrated or she gets frustrated with me. Where I'm an artist, so every I think what makes a great artist is someone a human being who knows a little bit about everything. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah, I don't understand the artist. Deputy minister ke mang or minister ke mang.
Yeah, deputy I can excuse them.
Or
There are
minister
too
ke
many
mang.
now.
Yeah,
Too many.
Right?
Deputy ministers are Ramaphosa, the bias now.
Yeah.
We can keep
Right?
track.
So I find that my understanding of things at times is a little bit skewed.
Okay.
And then Kitolore, she will correct me and sometimes force me to sit down and read
and understand.
Yeah, right. But that's
okay.
It's a reflection on me.
Yes.
So that's been great. That's been great. We are compatible in that way.
How does it benefit the kids? Because you said for the kids, it's incredible, this balance.
Well, it's incredible because the kids are able to source from both sides.
Yeah.
They're able to. My last born, for example, very academic, but absolutely love the arts. Studies the arts now.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? It's just, but I have moments where I go, who's talking?
Why?
How does she know that?
Whoa.
Because as parents, you think your children will just make utterances of what you guys in the home get to talk about.
And there's more.
And there's more. They make friends, they argue, they debate, they come back and they go, but this is how it actually rolls out, not the way you think that.
Some people say the first 5 years of a marriage determines whether it survives or not. Have you had a time in your marriage where you thought, yo.
Is it 5 or 7?
Well, let's change the number.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I actually think so.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the first 5 or 7 years is the toughest.
Yeah.
But it has to be. It's got to be Deza because remember, either it's Uncle Dadling or until bachelor for a long time. Sharp. You're still into each other, you're infatuated, whatever the word is,
I was still.
Yeah, no. A lady met me at the airport one day and said, and I said, "Ke script yeah, no, scam praiser too much, So because when you now start living together, you start learning how to become generous. It's no longer about you. Yeah. When my wife met me, for a good reason. Because I get often. Come on toilet. And she came and she changed those things, but nicely, like not in criticizing and making me feel like, very nicely. I realized later, Raymond, it's like, why the toilets are pink, white? you know, because this thing is failed. It needs to go to, you know, those kind of little things where we start learning one another. Wow. And fortunately for us, I think very early, we started realizing when we go to bed tonight, tomorrow we are not the same people we were today. You know, yeah. Meaning, we'll never be the same. You need to keep learning each other's ways.
Over and over and over.
Over and over and over.
Yeah.
For example, now,
this is a new because there was a time when they were not there.
Because no Rishabane really too.
Yeah.
You know, we have to relearn one another because the kids became a great distraction for years.
And also a great conversation.
You're right.
Urileng. What went say?
Yeah.
Now Alsabu.
Yeah.
Now suddenly
now we need to find each other, you know. So we've done things like we're redoing things like now I have dates with my wife to go and have breakfast with her.
Yo.
You know, I come at a certain time so that we can have dinner together. You know, all that kind of stuff, so that we don't. Where else? Whether it's a week where there were times when I would come home and I would go straight to bed because if it's like at 10, then the next morning at 5 I'm out. So a week or two goes by.
You came home while you were sleeping. You left while you were sleeping. Yes.
All Lena made. Now I'm trying to adjust all those things. I'm trying to schedule myself better. Yeah. I'm trying to manage my time better so that I can't go the whole week without having breakfast or lunch or dinner with my wife. Yeah.
I imagine surviving those times.
Yeah.
Is important
Yeah.
because some people may not survive those times where you would walk in and out and you didn't see the people in the house and you were able. That's the 5 years.
Some relationships might not. Yeah.
Jeez.
You know, earlier on, we were just chatting, you and I, and you made mention of sort of lovers' demands. But I remember that my grace was, my blessing was that early days, I used to enjoy being around my girlfriend before Iba Musaduak.
Okay.
That I should be studying,
Okay.
You know.
She would come there.
She would come to sit there with headphones.
And study.
You know, busy was study, but not like a shooter. Wow. And I think some of those experiences got to make her understand what this industry was like.
That's it.
My wife has never asked me, never. Because she's experienced me working until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Where this thing is just not coming together.
It's not coming together.
And they're saying, we have to go again.
Can we go again, guys? Yeah. You know, can we do that again? And so she got that experience very early. So she quickly understood the industry.
Yeah.
You know, at the time I wasn't doing it on purpose. It wasn't because industry. You know, it was just kilos pana. I can say. So then she got to learn. Jeez. And now she's
wow.
Yeah.
Do you know, looking at the profile of work you've done, it'll take us a few days. And I don't want to keep you here too long. There's number one, detective.
Yes.
You are an established actor at this stage.
Yeah. But not for UK and America.
I was about
producers.
to go there. Yeah. How did you break into a world that didn't know you but saw value in you?
Yeah.
What happened there?
So I just realized now as I'm talking to you. See, this is why it's important to do than not to.
Yes.
I'm realizing now, being at the right place at the right time is always, you know, it's how I got to do things. So there's a workshop at the Market Theatre, sort of like a master class done by the late Anthony Minghella. So it's a big deal. That this director, lead producer tsa high, but they ko Market Theatre to do these things. And so some of the exercises at that workshop was giving the actors a scenario,
Okay.
to improvise. So there's this workshop happening at the Market Theatre, and the director then calls, there was 3 directors, then calls a few volunteers for for a scenario. And I'm one of those people.
Wow.
But then my agent is there, the late Munin Lee. She's in the house. I didn't know. Because it's a lady artist, it's full. And I do this thing, da-da-da-da-da. And he's sitting, the director is sitting, Limunin. So he says, who's that?
They were not obviously exposed to you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Munin tells him, no. Da-da-da. He's very versatile, he can do. And he goes, I would like to see him. Just don't know when, but I'd like to see him. So afterwards, Munin calls me to say, hey, I was there. I know you didn't see me because I saw you leave. But I was there, and the director really liked you. He would like to see you. When do we make it happen? So I'm like, I'm available. I don't care. 11 o'clock at night, somewhere.
You didn't even know the project they wanted to see you for.
She had told me about the
okay,
project.
okay.
She had told me about the project.
Yeah.
Then, when she made that call, she was telling me, this guy is actually here. There's a big BBC, HBO, because it was a BBC,
yes,
HBO.
yes. American-British
Yeah,
thing.
American-British thing. And I was like, but I couldn't find the books because...
Oh, yes, it was a book.
It was a book.
It was a book, yes.
Yeah.
My mom loved the book.
Right.
My mom has probably never seen the
show.
The movie,
The
or the
itself,
show. It was
yeah.
a series.
Yeah,
yes.
it was a short
Yes,
series,
yes.
yeah. So I keep going to Munin's house.
Yeah.
Then they don't pitch up because Bapizi, there's no time really for him to see me.
Yeah.
Then one day, Munin calls me and says, they are in Botswana. Because, number one was shot in Botswana.
Yeah.
They are in Botswana. They're going to do location scouting. They want to see a few places. I think I must call him and make an appointment for you. She calls him. He says, look, we're busy, da-da-da. But, but then I say to Munin, tell him that I will be in Botswana. Don't tell him that when he gives us time,
We have to drive.
Just tell him I'm already there. And that's what she does.
That's a hassle.
It's a hassle.
Yes.
Said, ka driver. Kaya Botswana, met him at a hotel. They were already out, location scouting. And then when they came back for lunch at the hotel, I was there.
Yes.
Now, there's no pre-arranged room where I can go and I auditioned for that guy, Kamotla Sadi Steps.
In a hotel.
Say Yanko Kitchening. Yeah.
What?
That's the only quiet space there was. Otherwise, he would have made me read, go restaurant.
Yes.
But then he was like, no. Let's find a quiet place. And he made me read.
So look for a quiet place in the hotel.
Yeah.
Under the stairs.
Under the stairs. And that's where I read for Number One Ladies.
Were you
Detective.
seeing the script for the first time when you read for it?
Yes. Yeah. But he had told me a little bit more about the character, and the character was non-existent. If you read the books, there's no gay character in Number One Ladies Detective.
It was created.
He made it up. Yeah. He
Just
made it
for
up.
you to
Just for me
to play in
But
it.
he gave me scripts from the other character. Just just kind
Let's see your.
let's see how you do this.
Yeah.
So I did it, and that was it. And then that evening, I was like, hey, gotta go back to Josie, because can I go to spend a more hoteling?
Did you get the job there and then?
No. I got the job a week later.
Okay.
Yeah, a week
So
later.
and you didn't sleep in Botswana.
I didn't sleep that night.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of auditioned for him, read for him, and then I got back in the car and drove back to Joburg. That same
after
Sunday.
pretending you
After
were-
pretending I was already in Botswana.
Hey,
and,
job.
and praying for Askari, why don't you have dinner with us?
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Flip, now I have to book a hotel.
Yeah, because now I have to book a hotel.
Or drive across throughout the night.
And honestly, I think I did have a bit of money, but I was just like, I'm not spending money,
Yes.
for this. It's almost like spending money for an audition.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So a week later, Munin called me and said, my boy, you're going to Botswana. Congratulations. Yeah. But there was a problem because I was already contracted to doing the panto at the Joburg Theatre.
Sure.
Now I have to get out of that one.
How do you even get out of a theatre production?
It was an amazing thing because contracts were signed. Billboards were already up. Then Anthony found out this problem, meaning I'll have to shoot some days and then drive to Joburg. And they said, no, that's not going to work. They quietly, it wasn't him, but BBC people, quietly went to the Joburg Theatre, looked at the producer and said, how much did you spend on marketing for out here?
Yes.
Give us the books. Buka, but okay, there's your money. Can you release him? Release this guy. We need him in Botswana. Yeah.
Whoa.
And what an experience it was, man.
For a character that didn't exist.
For a character that didn't exist.
That's amazing.
What an experience it was. Just having to work with that caliber of producers, directors. We used to shoot, I think number one was shot, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 4 minutes a day. Right?
What?
That's like, what, 3 pages?
Yeah,
4 pages?
3 pages of script.
Of script, yeah. That's it.
4 minutes of show.
4 minutes of show.
That's almost nothing.
But that's why remember we did the first pilot, which is the one I auditioned for. And then it played in the UK and in the US. And they loved it. Audiences loved it. Then they came back a year later.
Yeah.
And then we stayed in Botswana for a year to shoot.
No way. Of course it'll be a year.
We shot six episodes in a year.
Of course it'll be a year. You were shooting 4 minutes a day.
Yeah. 4 minutes a day.
What the hell is that?
4 minutes
you would never find that here.
No.
Whoa.
No.
That's a huge difference, eh?
And number one, I mean, I don't know if you saw the whole series, but number one,
I've seen the
introduced
early
me
stuff,
to a whole lot of people. I mean, Jill Scott, Annika Noni Rose, David Oyelowo, who now played Martin Luther King, Idris Elba.
Yes.
A whole lot of UK actors came in. It was almost like the Law and Order of BBC, of that era.
With an African feel.
With an African feel,
yes.
They brought all these amazing actors to come and play with us.
Amazing, eh?
Little Pearl Tusi.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah, Pearl Tusi. She was still a tiny little kid.
What?
And she was amazing in that thing. So everyone you could think of, Vusikunene was in it, Tumisho Masha.
And they were in and out.
They were in and out.
When your character was quite long. Yeah. Jeez, man. 4 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Of course she would do that
Absolutely.
for a year. And you speak that you were fourth lead in the show.
Yeah.
And that's pretty high.
Yeah, it was Jill Scott, Annika Noni Rose, Lucien Msamati and me. Yeah.
That's pretty high.
Yeah. So
you got a lot of screen time.
I got a lot of screen time.
What did that do for your career? Because there's Hotel Rwanda at some point. There's things like that happen. Right. Did that make a difference internationally? Yeah. Look, I think it will always sort of, people will always kind of go, oh, who's that? But international also demands you to either move and go live in the US. In LA. Yeah. And the late Winston Jonah said to me, ufunuyenza noni ba? Ufunuyenza noni America? I'm wondering. So what's this bound? You know those, and his explanation was that because remember, Bra Winston, Libo Bra Zakes Mokai, worked in America. Bra Winston is the only. That's why that man will always be my hero. He was the only actor I knew who worked in America but lived in PE. Not even in Joburg.
Tema le America lo shoota le kgutlele PE. Yeah.
I landed Josie and I'm plane.
Yeah.
I high.
Yeah. And then he explained it this way, which I thought was really profound. He said, if you go to the United States, you're just going to become a number in the United States. You're going to become one of the other actors and foreign actors who are just hoping for work. If you still live at home and your agent is really good, both your agents, the one overseas and the one here, then there's something exotic about, even when producers talk about you, they say, oh, there's this young guy from Africa, real African.
He's there now.
True African.
He's there now.
He's there now in Africa. So we're going to bring him,
Give a John Khan.
Yeah,
absolutely. He lives here.
He lives here. Yeah. He doesn't.
And
really,
he works.
Yeah, and he works.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to be in that space. And I like that explanation from him. And I think I took my decision from there.
Jeez, man.
I was like, okay, I'll stay here, but I'll find an agent and I'll keep going. Yeah. When we did, I did an animation thing called, I didn't see
The Fantastic?
The Fantastics, yeah.
Yes.
The Fantastic was more Australian.
Okay.
More Australian thing. I like that character because I was playing a mute. Yeah, it was challenging.
Whoa.
Because o actor jwang sa bue, in fact. Yeah.
Facial expressions.
The entire time. Anyway, so we did a thing called Gangs of Dogtown. And it was an animation thing. And they wanted me to play a sort of, this dog comes from the Caribbean islands.
Okay.
It was a comedy thing. And the Caribbean islands accent I couldn't get it. I would get it and then I lose it and, all that kind. Yeah. Because Niki Tuta Caribbean island, the Caribbean accent from a guy who only lived there 2 years.
No.
And then, but nele rasta vie. So, no, Niki sound karikele rasta fele. Yeah, man. Anyway, so I traveled there and then I realized, the accent is really killing me. And one day in the recording, they said, try do it the way you do it.
Do you?
Ka khutla ka di whistle tsele monna.
Oh.
Ka di whistle tsele a kere ke ntja ya hi. E bitswa ka di flate. So le yona bitsa ntja tse ding ka di flate. Killed that role.
You just became a guy from Soweto.
I just became a guy from Soweto.
That's it.
To be specific, a guy from Tembisa. I was specifically going for Tembisa because at times, nekebali accenting yana Spedi, because Soweto is pretty much Zulu,
Sotho Zulu with a touch of Sotho.
With a Zulu with
sprinkle
a
of
Sotho,
yes.
Yeah. And I think that's when I was like, okay. That was a lesson to me to say, you can actually negotiate. How solid are guys? This accent. So Watlanuke sounded so Caribbean. My Caribbean sounded like Americans.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those accents, I need more practice with that accent. So that's how.
It's amazing how they would even cast you.
Yeah.
Without knowing whether you can pull it
off or not. But I think I got cast because of the energy. And energy
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but that energy. I don't know.
Actually, talking about that ad, did that ad do anything for your life? Because you were everywhere.
I think it did.
You were everywhere.
You know what, Deza? I think it does. I mean, it's like if I ask you, you've been in the media house for this long, what do you think she did for you?
Yeah.
Just the presence being there did a lot for you.
I get that.
You know what I mean?
That.
So I think it did because I did. I mean, my whole corporate involvement is because of Amatlukluk.
Yes.
I do a lot of corporate work.
So it started there.
It started that. It started there. Everybody just wanted to know the guy from Amatlukluk. And then, of course,
playing a taxi driver.
Yeah. Yes. And then, of course, it helped that I was in Suburban Bliss and then Dube on Monday. people saw me now playing sort of different things, and they were like,
He's the guy.
he's the guy. Yeah.
Hotel Rwanda.
Hotel Rwanda.
It stands out. It's
Yeah.
one of those movies I cried.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think I don't cry easy.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And to learn the history of the Hutus and the Tutsis in that way, in that moment, in that last few days, well, not last few days, those days of that, what role did you play there? Remind all of us.
Well, I played an assistant to the hotel manager,
Okay, yes.
who was funny enough. His name was Dube, but it's
With
the
the-
French. Yeah, it's
Dube.
Dube na Linkapanyane. And I was like, I think Dube is meant for me.
Might as well.
Might as well.
Yes.
Yeah, same thing. By the way, for Hotel Rwanda, I auditioned for Hotel Rwanda, but heard nothing. And then I was asked to go and help the other actors that are coming in.
Okay.
And I remember the first actor I helped was someone I held at a very high regard and respected, Mbongeningem. Mbongeningem, I was auditioning for the role Efana Mokwena Qininga Dlala.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I read for him. I was doing those kind of scenes. For, in fact, a whole lot of other actors, because I was there for about 2 days. And honestly, I think that's what got me the job, not my audition. Yeah.
They saw the
I
guy
think they
who's
saw
feeding the lines.
The guy who's feeding the lines, and then they were like, okay, we'll go with this guy. And for me, Hotel Rwanda was... You see, if you come from protest theatre and you are a natural activist, just doing the research for that project was hurtful, was painful.
Bruh.
No, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I realized then that that's why these things keep happening in Africa. It's because when it happens to Africans, even Africans shy away from either talking about it or flagging it, or, same thing as Congo. Now the Congo. It's been going on
Forever.
But really, we don't make it a topic.
Do you know a similar one is apartheid?
Yeah.
We don't
No, we don't.
highlight it.
No.
And we are all still here.
Yeah.
It didn't happen 100 years ago.
No.
It happened now.
In fact, some of the perpetrators are still alive.
Actually, what's worse,
Yeah.
I think some of them, we're seeing what's happening now with the Trump thing, and some of them probably think that it wasn't so bad for us.
Yeah.
Because whether we've moved on or not,
Yeah.
in inverted commas,
Yeah.
we don't speak as much about it.
No, we don't talk about it.
And
We don't teach our children, and that's why you have a lot of children with accents who then say, "Hey man, I wasn't there, man."
and then they're
Hey,
black.
Yeah.
They're your skin
Hey,
color.
man, I-
Actually, you find equally white kids that are saying, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I spoke to a kid wa AfriForum who said, hey, man, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, it's between...
And even the people who were there, a couple of years ago, I got involved in a project that was, do you remember the old Florence Hospital in Hillbrow?
Yes, 100%.
Now, remember the Florence Hospital used to look straight into
The police station?
no, that prison, number 4.
Oh, yes,
They
of
called
course.
it number 4. Konje
Yes,
Baibitano.
yes, I know exactly
Yeah,
which one.
yeah.
it is.
Now it's a
Yeah,
museum.
Yeah.
And I remember asking a lady that used to live there. She was quite an old lady, but absolutely fantastic. And I said to her, so you woke up every day to see this? She said, even better. My husband used to be a photographer.
He took pictures.
Took pictures.
What?
And he got threats. So the point I'm trying to make, Kohore, some of those people are still alive, but some of them just chose not to participate, not to say, that's not cool. That's not cool. But I also learned a thing about South Africans and maybe Africans is that, and I've learned this through the arts. I realized that a lot of people don't know how to fight for others.
Okay.
And they don't understand that if you allow people to treat another group badly, the next is yours. Next is you.
Yes.
So we people are getting attacked, whatever, for gender reasons.
Whatever discrimination.
Yeah, rubber gender. We turn a blind eye until we realize when it comes to us.
Yes, until it affects you directly.
It's
the only time it's a story now.
The stories of crime in our country, we've had crime for a long time. You can tell that there's a lot of people who come from safe environments, whether it's gated communities or the estate, who just like, yeah, man, hey, la raza ka crime. La racism. Crime, because it hasn't affected them yet.
No.
And when it does, those very same people are wondering, I posted this on Twitter and it only got 5 shares. Meaning South Africans don't care. But it's because we don't have a culture of caring for others.
No.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
It's
so sad because the irony of it is we are the same people who speak of Ubuntu, which speaks of looking after each other.
Yeah.
So it's
Ubuntu is just a marketing tool.
Yes. But you have to acknowledge there was a time when we lived in a society where you didn't belong as a child, not only to your parents. You belonged to the community of people who would say if they find you smoking, they will hit you with a clap or tell your parents.
Absolutely.
And that is yeah.
How am I fifing or shakar?
You look the other way.
You have to hide.
Yes.
Because Tamalo Little Bona knows where you live, will drive to your parents' house to say, Mushmane ha itshwara sharp.
You see, then that means we lost it.
We lost it.
Over time.
We lost it. And we lost it.
Yes.
Sadly.
We lost a lot.
We lost it. One of the lessons I learned, sadly, was something that happened to me. I give it out through that 5 years that you were talking about. Nale Mediaka were trying to make things work. It's not really working. And one day, Mediaka just took the car and drove to Kimberley to go and talk to my grandmother. And I was summoned.
Hey.
Yeah. I was summoned. And by the way, my grandmother was the only person who could do that.
Okay.
And I'm being respectful. Only person who could say, I don't care. You are not raised this way. Okay. You are not going to disrespect our family because you are taking care of the family. You're feeding us.
Superstar.
Yeah, a superstar. You can go jump. Right?
Yeah.
And what that taught me was that we were the generation that got introduced to the economy for us, for people that looks like us.
Got you.
So because we were supporting families, go high, we started thinking that we are untouchable.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we are the generation Sensembana. Because we started thinking we're untouchable. Therefore, in some homes, not my grandmother's home, but in some homes,
this guy,
David,
or Rekan
Cruiser, because he might close that tap.
Eish.
Tap. So I think there was a big generation of us who couldn't be reprimanded. And if you can't be reprimanded, you can't reprimand your kids.
Not at all.
And
and lo not what's laying like more. Yes.
Newspaper and your father.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. How's your father?
Yes.
Hey, your father.
So you got summoned to Kimberley.
I got summoned to Kimberley, but that was such a great lesson for me because that's when I realized that's what's happening in most families.
Sure.
Is that the first one into a better economy is sort of the hero of the family and
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know those guys, the funeral discussions don't happen until he arrives?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we have to wait. We have to wait for
I'm
her.
that guy. Yeah.
It's not right.
It's not right.
Untwana.
Untwana.
In that you find there's others that are much older than you.
You know, I had this discussion with one of my uncles. Because I'm named. My middle name, I'm not telling you. My middle name
So I can find it. Why don't I have it?
Shut up, David.
I researched.
So I'm named after my grandfather, my father's father.
Okay.
And so you'll notice that in my family, my whole family, my mother used to call me Papa. You know, they all kind of called me Papa.
Because of the name you carry.
Because of the name I carry.
Yeah.
And one time I was like, this is too difficult. You know, too difficult. But I wasn't talking about the responsibilities. I was just saying, I don't know if I can still remain youth if you guys put me on this pedestal.
Got you.
And my uncle said, unfortunately, you're named after him. So harubita ro chaela gore go na le problem mo ntlong. It's not because we want you to take responsibility of it, but it's just right that you are the first to know.
Okay.
You know.
Yes.
And that made
It's almost a symbolic.
it's a symbolic
Yes,
it's a
yes,
symbolic
yes,
gesture.
absolutely.
You know, it's a
Yeah.
symbolic gesture. But also he did say, on top of it, you are the cherry on top. Gore jwale o tla tla le wena ka 5 cent nyana. You know.
And that's the good and the bad of that burden, I guess.
So I feel that we failed our children, our generation, or maybe a generation slightly older than me. I feel that once we couldn't be reprimanded, it was very difficult to reprimand our kids. You know.
And what have you noticed as a result of that? Because we're dealing with very different children. We can't entirely blame them because they're kids after all.
They're kids.
Yes.
It's us. That's why I said it's our.
Yes.
It's our. We need to get to a point. You know, out to the men's conference. It's not the other rubbish that I would like to attend a men's conference for, but it's for this, where we start realizing, we had our own mistakes.
Yes.
You know, created by the circumstances, but it's us.
Sure.
It's us. You know, and we constantly have to check ourselves.
Sins of the father.
Yeah. Sins of a father.
It never stops. It becomes a vicious cycle that continues.
Children don't learn from what you tell them. They learn from how you live.
They watch and replicate.
For me, that was one of the toughest things. Because you know what I mean? Like, at levels you can...
Only imagine.
Only imagine. I was just told to fail, you know.
Yes.
But when the kids started growing and they watch, and I was like, yay!
Am I showing them this?
Yay! I have to walk differently from how I'd been living my life. I have to, you know, to have solid children. I have to show them
to do a better
job.
Be a better example.
Be a better example.
Do you sometimes look at your wife having summoned you to Kimberley, or she took a lot of crap and still lived through it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't think I'm the easiest person to live with. Yeah. I'm focused in a certain area, but in other areas I'm all over the place.
Okay.
And that makes me a very difficult person to kind of figure out.
Yes.
And I think I had to get a wife like that, who's just kind of patient to kind of go, okay.
Anyone else would have said, "Ah,
wow, come on." Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never lived through an ultimatum, le Mediaka.
No. Wow.
No, Mediaka will come to me and say, I think we need to talk about this.
Are you the one who would, at any point, say we need to talk about this?
Yes.
Or it's always
No,
hey,
sir, definitely.
No. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. But mostly it's because I grew up with ladies. And so I understand certain dynamics. Tsadimedi.
Yes.
Okay. I used to see this from my sisters, so
I don't understand.
It's raining now, but I know the sun will come up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Eventually.
Eventually, yeah. And I think that also contributed to being in a relationship for that long. Yeah.
That's amazing. I want to go back to the acting deliberately because we spoke about theatre at some point in the story, and you spoke about politics because it started with Hotel Rwanda.
Yes.
Who really freed
Nelson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of your stuff.
Yeah. Who really freed Nelson?
Cool stuff.
Really cool stuff.
Did you enjoy that?
I really enjoyed it. That play was written by a guy called Jervis Pennington. Jervis Pennington was in a group called Soft Shoes. When they told me, I was like, I don't know Soft Shoes.
What do they do?
But when they were a pop group.
Okay.
So he told the story, but with music that he would have otherwise composed for the band. You know, that type of thing. But it was such an amazing play to be a part of. Because it was almost like if Mandela was released at a different time, what would the country have been? Yeah.
Wow.
You know, that type of thing. And I really enjoyed playing it. I played a homeless guy who just had this amazing knowledge about communities and people and how we need to treat one another, you know, etc. And his anger came from the fact that there were people who think otherwise. There were people who think, no, we can't be equal with those guys.
No.
Yeah.
You're still around those people.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about it.
That's the crazy thing about it. Yeah.
We were talking about a one-hander that you did. What was that show?
I've done a few, but
there was one with huge billboards. You were wearing like women's clothes.
Yeah. I think you're talking about Tango. There was a show I did, Bareke Tango. It got me a lot of work, that play.
Really?
Yeah, it got me a lot of work. I did pieces of that show for corporate for probably like 5 years.
Whoa!
I promise you. People would just come, like a company like IBM would come and say, just, you know.
A little bit.
Yeah. I even did like when I go in and be an MC, instead of just being Desmond Dube as an MC, I would be the character.
Whoa.
And then, you know, like Meo Spananda, Watlina, it's about everybody, it's about CEO, you know. So we kind of formulated that thing where and a lot of people enjoyed it.
I can only imagine because it's a different approach.
A lot of people
to MCing, for example.
Yeah.
Yes.
To MCing, yeah.
Why do you think people gravitated to it so much?
I think it was the sense of humor. It was almost like Evita, really.
Yes,
honestly.
Yes. It was a black version.
It was a black version of Evita, where you kind of take jabs at society and a little bit into politics and that type of thing. And I really enjoyed it because I knew that even though I write some of this stuff, it's not really me. I'm speaking through the voice of
this
Mama,
lady.
You know,
you can go anywhere.
I can go anywhere. Yeah.
Ngaba
roa, you know.
Jesus. Wow, man, that's pretty dope when a character can have can go to so many places.
Absolutely. I mean, Peter Dirk Ace for me is one of those people.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. Like, you know, people, we just throw around the word icon. That guy is an icon. Yeah. He's an icon of another level. He is sensitive to the soul, if you may, to pain, but he also knows how to even make fun of that, and you laugh alongside, you know. And for me, that's real talent.
Yeah.
Where you are able to listen to almost your Dave Chappelle.
Pretty much.
Where you listen to him and he's talking about you, and not in the most flattering way, but you laugh, you know.
You find the humor
in what he's telling you. Yeah.
I always do this with actors and try to see if you remember your characters' names. Oh, this is hard. It's not that easy, by the way.
For me, listen, I've already failed.
Really?
I've already failed.
Okay, I'll start easy.
Yeah.
And if this is not you, tell me. Because this is my research.
Okay.
This is new.
Yeah.
Savage Beauty.
Yes.
What's the name of the character? That's new, bruh.
Yo, Joe.
That's so new.
Why do you do that to me, in fact?
That's so recent.
It was Minister something.
It's a 2024 production.
Yeah, I know. Won't get us all. Hey, you know how I think.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that shows, particularly theater shows,
Yes.
are data,
Okay.
right? It's information. And so while I'm doing that play, it's here. I'll remember things. I'll remember. But as soon as tomorrow is the last night, it's a wrap.
Yes.
I swear to God, my memory is pretty much like that. It just... My daughter was asking me recently about Master Harold and the Boys. I did Master Harold and the Boys got 2020.
Jesus.
Yeah, COVID yes. Master
Do I have it
and
here
the
on my
Boys,
list?
right?
Yeah, okay.
And she asked me about a specific monologue in that play. Couldn't remember. Not even a single word.
What?
Because my mind works like that. If you give me another week maybe to re-rehearse, it'll all come back. But my mind works like that. I do a play. How to it means Leon.
You take out the hard drive.
Yeah, you take out the hard drive.
And then put it aside and you're done.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Sheesh.
And that's why it makes space for the other play.
Of course. I was actually interesting we say that. I was thinking, I think Owen Sejake remembers monologue of Shakespeare that he did.
Bra
when
Owen
he
is
was
a show
kid.
off. I love Bra Owen to bits, but he's a show off. Bra Owen will just rattle. He did a play called, I think, Train Driver, right? Which I also wanted to do. In fact, with the former Fugard Theatre.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to do this play. And then I told Bra Owen, hey, Bra Owen, that play, he started rattling the monologue.
You don't even remember.
To a point where I went, who sharp? Retla project. I get to be bro.
The words are not in your head.
He's an amazing. Even just as an actor, I mean, the man is
incredible.
Yeah.
We're very lucky.
By the way, when I met my wife, Nikispanali Bra Owen.
Okay.
And I didn't remember this. Years later, he says, and he calls my wife by her name. And I tell him, no, sharp. Something comedy. So I got to know your wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bro Owen knows my wife since
you don't even remember that.
I don't even remember those moments. Yeah. Love that man.
Wow.
Love him.
Here's another one. Office Invasion.
Office Invasion.
Character name.
Ooh, I don't know.
His name is George.
No? George? Yeah. Okay. It was George. I'm thinking Suburban Bliss. That's, no.
You were on Riker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is the character?
Man. David. Man.
Let's
All I know is that Kim Root.
Pastor Zeke.
Yeah. Pastor Zeke. Dude.
We'll keep trying. You must remember this.
Which one?
How to ruin Christmas.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And all because people still call me that.
Okay.
There you
go.
Yeah.
There you go. Where else? Impilo, the scam.
Impilo. Oh. Hell. No, I forgot.
Kulubuse. Let's keep trying.
Yeah.
For Love and Broken Bones.
For Love? I wouldn't remember that one.
Old.
No, I wouldn't remember. I remember For Love and Broken Bones.
Yes.
Yeah. It was the first time Kispanalema Orange.
Ah.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
No, I loved it. I loved every moment of that show.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, Kulubus.
Yeah.
Tsipi. Tsipi is For Love and Broken Bones.
Was that Tsipi?
Yes.
Okay.
Mandela's gun.
There's no way I would have remembered Govan Becky.
Of course you would remember that.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Also, the research process was very extensive. So there's no way I would have forgotten that.
Remind us what the story was about.
Besides
the name being
literally
obvious.
that Mandela's gun.
Yes.
But I mean, they told the story of the ANC.
Yes.
The real story of the ANC.
Okay.
Which is, I think, why the movie never made it here. Yeah. Or rather, the semi-documentary. It never really made it
look
here.
for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Brits had a glimpse of it because I think John, the director, he got it to
go somewhere.
yeah, to go somewhere. But but Mandela's gun was the real story of the ANC.
Yeah.
And during that time when things were really volatile, like people were not feeling safe, Madiba now had to go.
It's after release.
To Ethiopia.
Is after he was released? Or
No,
before. He
It
went to
it was
arrested.
It was before he was
arrested.
In fact, I think Mandela's gun ends when he gets arrested.
Do you know?
Yeah.
It's a story I've told many
And
times.
Tumisho Masha played Mandela.
Oh, look
So
at that.
for me, Tumisho is the first Mandela from South Africa.
Yes.
Yeah. But Mandela kaofela either was UK or America. Yeah. Tumisho was the
It
first.
was the first Mandela of South Africa. Wow, man, because Mandela had a gun when he was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
When they were following him from visiting Ubabulutul in KZN, they found him with a gun. And then he came out of jail as this gentle soul.
Yeah.
that people don't remember. D-man!
Deep boy.
It's
It's so interesting, isn't it? Like we forget Peter Makaba.
Exactly.
He sounded exactly like Julius.
Yes.
We forget that Mandela
sounded like Julius.
Like Julius. But this is the thing about us, because we don't document.
Yeah.
We keep making the same mistakes. You know, we still keep killing the same leaders.
True.
You know,
they come back again.
They come back again, and then we're like, Buaholo. Buaholo. You know, my kids laugh when I say we went through a stage where, for example, Madiba's pictures were banned.
We didn't know him.
We didn't know him. We were supposed not to know him. But somebody Koskela smuggled in a photo of Nelson Mandela. Yeah. Right? And I had a copy of that picture. Right? And the cops came. Yeah. No, during those days. You know, in my high school, one time, Batlo arrested the entire history class. Yeah, because those were the troublemakers. They are, you know, as soon as Kobali the unrest, get the history students and their teachers. You know.
Why? Because you were learning about the history of this country.
Because you were learning
the real history
of this country. So my grandmother, and I remember this hurting me so deeply, obviously forgave her later because I realized it was just a way of keeping her home safe. After the cops came, because I wasn't there, the cops came, you know, my grandmother, terrorist. You know. Because now I brought police to the house. You know, it's problematic. So, you know, things like that. Body photo that we were not supposed to know. You know, we're not supposed to read anything. You know, a book. You know, Stephen Biko. You mentioned Stephen Biko.
Yes.
You're in trouble.
You mentioned back in those days, Moar Tambo.
Yeah.
Sisulu.
No, you were a terrorist. Yes. Just mentioning, you know, or having a picture. Yeah.
Amazing. And came out and was the gentle giant. You remember Dube?
Yes.
Nothing for Mahala. That's not recent.
No, that's not recent. I don't remember the character name. But I remember that I did that with Kenny Nkosi.
It's Cedric Moloi.
Cedric Moloi.
Yes.
He was a rich guy.
There you go.
Yeah. He was a rich guy.
Let me see. There's a lot. Panic Mechanic.
Yeah. Okay, Panic Mechanic. I was playing different characters.
Oh, yeah, of course. It even says here on my notes here. But those were fun moments, eh?
A lot of fun.
Yes.
I think a lot of learning.
Because it's early in your career.
It's early in my career.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
You know, I guess Panali Leon Schuster. It was early in my career. And I really enjoyed all of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Is there a lot of improv as it looks like?
It was.
Yes.
It was a lot of improv. It was the first time that I was put in a place, because I'm a prankster anyway.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Now you had to do it and get paid for it.
Now I had to do it and get paid for it. But then I realized, it's a different world, because washapuara, Maburu na re shapa. Maburu na re shaya, man. You know, a lot of that stuff don't come to, obviously people don't know because we can't show violence of that level. But hey, Leon Schuster has gotten clubbed a few times. And when I was working with him, I realized very quickly, I'm Fetura Shapi.
And it's not we're not acting.
Yeah, no, Ratrapu, Leon. I'm fit, man. I remember one time, really cool, welcome. I actually remember the joke. The joke was, what was that blue pill that men use?
Viagra.
Yes. That was the joke that we sort of try and sell this pill and what it does and da-da-da. But then the whole joke was that if you take this pill, women just throw themselves at you.
Okay.
Right? And then the setup was that there was women everywhere in the shopping center.
Okay.
And that we planted.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And that would fall for you.
So, our tena haifetsa Viagra. It was called Viagra.
Yes.
How fetsa we spray ka dideng, pasadi batla. And these guys are like, yeah. And then, to break that moment, comes this gay guy, which was me. You know, or Leana, he
smells the same
thing. And he's like, oh, come on. You know, come on, Abuti. Come on. And I remember, the reason why I remember is because I wanted to fight back.
Because now
Yeah.
I'm and at
the time, Gray of Mayor said, no, you can't. You're not allowed. You oversugate.
They were minding their business.
They were minding their business. You know? Yeah.
That's funny.
But I enjoyed it so much that when Dube on Monday came, I created a segment, Candid Camera.
Yeah.
You know.
Because it kind of worked together.
We
haven't done stuff like that in a while. Eh?
Yeah, and it doesn't get old.
No, never.
No, the pranks don't get old. I mean, obviously, youngsters have taken it to a different level.
Jeez.
Because some YouTubers are actually dying.
No, it's bad.
Because you got to understand the artistic contribution of that kind of thing, you know. Yeah. And obviously, it's like playing a joke just randomly. And same joke, on 95, and they get a heart attack.
And die.
You know, so...
And you say I was just joking.
Yeah. And you say I was joking. Nah, it's too late now.
Yeah.
You know.
A lot was... But the franchise that Leon built from that was just incredible. And it lasted forever
For a
and
long
ever.
time.
Because even now, he's still working.
You still... Yeah.
With the same way of telling stories.
Yeah.
I remember one of my favorite Leon Schuster moments was the snake. Actually, dead body.
It was
in a taxi.
Body. It was a dead body in a taxi.
Yes.
Dead body in a taxi.
Yes.
Black people don't like those things.
No. Don't do that.
No. Ghosts, snakes,
and dead
bodies. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Do you remember? I wasn't in this movie, but he did a prank where a white lady just go funeral parlor. These guys are called in to come and just help clean. And then le boxe le labuler and khotsa mosadi wa lekgowa. And this guy is just like, Chantra, go back in the name of Jesus.
I think I remember that.
Beautiful.
In the name of Jesus, go back.
Yeah.
Die.
Yeah.
Wow, man. He's done well, though, with that work. Eh?
No.
Because this is so early in your career, Leon days. Yes. 96. Panic Mechanic.
Was it 96?
96. It's 96. There's a Zulu in My Stoop. It's all of that.
Zulu in My Stoop, yeah. With the late John Machiki's. I love that film. Amazing. I love the way they curated. I love Mr. Bones. I love Leon Schuster's work, man.
It's beautiful work. And it kind of speaks to your world. You know, the comedic, character world where let's play this and see how far it goes. Yes.
Yeah. It's a pity because, I mean, he came under fire around COVID.
Yes.
You know, go Twitter. You know, go Twitter, hey, this guy is racist.
Eish.
And I was like, yo. And rather than, I suppose racist comes from ignorance.
Yes,
I do think there were certain things that he did that were a little bit
offish.
Offish,
Yes.
and the consultation was not good. Where you kind of go to the people and you say,
Does
if I do something like this, do you think people will get offended? But we all come from there. Where we
what
tried
we
things.
spoke about
Yeah.
earlier was exactly
you
that.
try things and then you realize, oh, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hurtful. Yeah.
And now in the world of Twitter and social media, the reaction is going to be 10 times more than it could have been if it was just written by Daily Sun. And it ends there.
Deza, here's the thing for me about social media. And I try and teach when I can young people in the industry.
Yes.
Nobody has, up to this time, nobody has shown me data or research that the more numbers you have, I'm talking as an actor, the more bumps on seats you are going to get if you are in a movie
100%.
or in a theater show.
Yeah.
No one has ever. We've done plays with people banaling hundreds and thousands,
Millions.
and they post it on their Instagram just before the opening night, and so on. And
One thing I've learned, very minimal knowledge of the space. I can tell you because I live in two worlds, radio and this.
absolutely,
And I've learned that the two worlds are really separated.
right.
They are not together at all.
You mean radio and
podcasting.
Okay.
But let me say radio and
Okay.
YouTube.
Yeah.
I have learned that the two worlds are not together at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Where you find someone who listens to me every single day doesn't know that I do this.
That's so true.
They have never seen
That
it.
is so true.
Actually,
That's so true.
To a point where this person doesn't even know how I look like.
Yes.
Do you understand
Yes.
that? Because I exist in their world, their radio.
Yeah.
So this doesn't.
Yeah.
So as a result, to say those numbers translate to that, I'm almost certain that the truth is the two worlds don't connect, and you're just not aware as a producer of the show and so forth.
Yeah.
And there are radio hosts that are big on YouTube, rather on Twitter, but they're not necessarily big on YouTube, or not necessarily big on radio for that matter.
Yeah.
That happens.
That happens.
So to be able to cultivate both worlds comfortably, that's a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really, really think you're right in saying that these numbers may not necessarily give us
May not
people
necessarily.
watching the show or coming to buy tickets.
My take about social media for the longest time is that I quickly picked up Jorge, social media following is, first of all, you have to control it. Yeah, you have to control it. Early days for Instagram, people will be like, oh, I need to post something. I haven't posted in 3 days.
It's for the gram.
It's for the gram. I have to post something. My followers want to see something. They want to see me do things. And then I practiced that on my Instagram.
So you got caught up.
Yeah, no, I practiced. I tried to figure out, is this really working or not? So I'm talking about something I tried, where I quickly realized, people on Instagram, if you don't post all the time, they get used to it.
Oh, okay.
They kind of go, "Ke Desmond Dube." Highly quiet, on something major that he wants us to know.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And so I always say to younger people, you need to remember that people are on social media for all different kinds of things. And that's why sometimes batho ba na leng different, like a name that's not theirs on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's to have a front seat into your life. Yeah,
Yes.
it's to have a front seat into your life.
Yeah.
You think they're your followers, but they'll be the first to celebrate when things go wrong.
Yes.
In your life,
Yes.
or when your life gives them a little bit of a juice. They're the first to share it and spread it with other people.
Work hard there.
Yeah. So we need to understand that. Also, because I think social media is in the regulations. So TV has got very clear regulations. You can't do that. Can't say that. But social media, for some reason, became a free-for-all. A guy who's sitting in the middle of Swedi in Kokuruman can sit in his little hut and comment on something they may or may not know anything about.
And control the narrative.
Yeah.
And when on man.
Yeah. I saw a recent interview, I think in Selena Gomez. And by the way, it's because I've got daughters. That's why I know Selena Gomez.
Of course. You probably know Beyonce.
Oh no, I know Hannah Montana. I know all those people.
You still call her Hannah Montana?
I still call her Hannah Montana.
A part of your age is showing.
Miley Cyrus, okay? Yeah. But this girl was saying it's so weird that I learned quite late 90% of social media is fake. She's saying that in her interview. And she was saying 90% is fake. People will show you what they want you to see.
That's it.
And often it's not even for you. If ele outi, o batla ntsha revenge because X ya high. You know what I mean?
There's nothing to do with any of us.
It's got nothing to do with you. But here you are looking at this guy and you're like, hey, Loiso Kola.
You're
blind. Hey, I need to pick up my socks, man. I need to be like Loiso Kola. And also I then got to learn that it also became a horrible trend for a lot of people where people compare themselves with people that ordinarily they wouldn't,
Like 1, I've never met you. 2, I don't know where you live. 3, I don't know your life. I don't know anything about you. And I'm spending my life comparing myself to you.
Yeah. You don't know how many people I know. And they don't know that I know. Computer. And I'm like, but why? Hansi man.
Nix.
Yeah.
Nix.
The boy doesn't know who I am.
My tatak, I'd say my wins.
Yeah.
I'd say anything.
And then I learned very quickly, it doesn't matter whether you have 4 billion, 4 million, 4,000.
Let's take it up.
Right?
Trillion.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter. We all have our own trouble.
Absolutely.
And problems. Yeah. And I think part of the gift of being sociable for me comes from that. Every time I meet someone, it doesn't matter how arrogant they act. I'm an actor, so I can see why actor. Yeah. I see them. You know, I fly every week, because of all the other corporate work I do. And I watch people constantly. I can tell you, it's the first time I pala my aeroplane.
Jojo.
And you can tell that they come from a corporate, either just got promoted, junior manager nyana. It's because of the way they behave.
Yes.
And the behavior is not one that says, I'm just happy I got to do this for my family and this is where I am in life.
Yes.
The behavior is one that says, I've arrived.
I
don't know who these guys are.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, do you know who I am? Yeah.
Wow.
Constantly.
And I guess as someone who's learned in the space of actor and portraying other characters, it's easy for you to pick up moments that you just described.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you say, there's a performance.
Yeah,
there's another
performance. Yeah.
That laughter over there.
It's a performance. Yeah. And people don't know that that's our job. Our job is to study people.
Yeah. Because you encode their mannerisms.
You encode their mannerisms.
Into your own...
And that's why when you're given a role where play a rich guy who is not knowledgeable.
Yeah.
My memory goes, I've got a few people in mind.
I know how to play these people.
I know how to play these people. Yeah.
Wow, man. Do you find at any point acting a challenge? Or what is your experience of it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, first of all, let me tell you this, Teza. I get nervous before I go on stage.
Jeez, really?
Super nervous.
Super.
I've got anxiety, which is why I'm so pedantic when it comes to things like preparing, rehearsal. So that at least on that day, my inner voice says, you know the show. The audience doesn't.
Yes.
So just go out there. But I think part of that nervousness is wanting to do the right thing.
Of course.
You don't want to, if you don't care, Rawona as a performer.
That's true.
Rwanda very quickly, there's a few artists now, musical artists, that I look at and I go, Hey, I could have listened to this CD in the car.
I didn't need to dress
come,
up
to come here. And then you meet guys like Boss Java, who will give you a show.
Yeah,
effortless.
Yes.
Who'll give you a show, and where you kind of go, man, I love. There's a generation of musicians now that I go, man. How did I not think about approaching music that way? How did I not think about that? No. I go. I'm a fan of the industry.
Through and through, I can tell.
Through and through.
Because you mentioned different names. We were talking about McG earlier. You're a fan through and through.
I'm a fan of the arts. I'm a fan of what people bring.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of their contribution to society, because ultimately that's what we're doing.
100%.
I grew up in a time, Deza, yabo Black Five. Dipina tse tshwana le bo ono sa tsebe ha wa apara marukgwe tsa bosadi tsona tsona di tshabile ye. Messaging through music. Because when you're a kid, you hear that song, you're like, hey, man, babu ka usofi mosba. You know what I mean? It's just like you quickly go, oh, okay, so I'm not supposed to do that. Yeah. And I think over the years, our art form has lost that, where we have messages of encouragement, of building, of becoming a better society, of, you know what I mean, of becoming a better child. Which is take time to know.
Of course,
by Dube Gray.
Absolutely. But it
was amazing.
It came in an era of songs with that kind of message. You know,
Soul Brothers.
Yes.
Soul Brothers used to record an album in Zulu, and then they would record the same album, Kasisotho. Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow, man. And David Masondo.
But David Masondo.
Yes.
But our kids might not know that because we don't share it. So I play that music in my car. My little one, can you play me Ushui Nomtekala?
What?
You know what I mean? Just because I used to refuse to change the music. They tried it because bana ba kena ka mo koloing ba tseba Ariana Grande.
Of course.
And they're like, "Oh, can I play?"
Yeah.
Change Bluetooth basically, and I would go, "Nope. You're in my car." Yeah. If we're doing a long trip, then everybody will get
their turn.
Their turn. But Hana, no, this is it. And now I'm watching them and I see their appreciation for that time. At the time, they were just like, "That's boring music. We can't even hear what they're saying.
We can't even
hear what they're saying.
Who's this?
Yeah, who's this, Dad? Now they miss the music. They refer to it. My little one was doing a play, Aleko Metric, and I went to watch this play. She was directing the play, and I went to watch this play, and I was like, hey!
What did you spot?
Yeah, like music that came from, first of all, maybe even the 80s.
What?
And I was like, yeah. I mean, my child knows music tabo, but ten chanda.
Jo.
I'm telling you.
Jo. All the way from Limpopo. Jesus. And that's you.
Yeah.
It's all your exposure.
It's all because she was... No, I'm saying she even went further to even find out more, Like, Musaka no ekhona utla music and will say, Oh, that's a... They took that song from another song. Yeah.
So she can do that.
She can do that. She can hear music now, whether it's a rap song, and she would go, oh, they sampled the song.
And this is the song
And
they
this is
sampled.
the song they sampled.
You've done well, man.
Yeah. It's not me, though. It's just them.
Well, you started the
Yeah.
ball, and
I
now
guess.
it rolled. Yes.
Yeah. You walk the walk, and then your children will follow suit.
Do you enjoy raising girls?
Absolutely.
What is it about? it?
So I joke about it all the time. Or maybe God knew, or I can get fun. I don't think I have the patience for Machita.
Yes.
And I watch, because most of my sisters have got sons.
Yeah.
You know, and I watch just how impatient I become with boys.
Justice.
Where else with girls, there's a little bit of, care and so on. But I love raising. I love raising kids. Girls. But it's also because early days Limediaka, we were very certain of what we wanted for ourselves in the future. We didn't want to end up. I'm the big example. I didn't want to end up with 6-7 children.
There you go.
Because I'm chasing a particular sex.
Yeah. Yes.
And so we knew if Rebale Bafana by too sharp. If Rebale Bafana by Banyana by too sharp.
That's it.
Yeah. And then I also got to learn I never really raised girls. I raised children. Yeah. So when our Bali Panchar, everybody in their job.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
We've tested 10 girls and a puncher. I call it. It's a video that's coming soon.
That's so nice.
Yeah, they struggled.
That is so nice. Yeah, that's such a nice concept.
Yes.
10 girls and a puncher.
10 girls and a puncher.
Yeah.
Oh no, they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
There was only one that pulled it off.
Yeah, that pulled it off.
The rest of them had no clue what they were dealing with. Just lifting the car.
That is so
Do
interesting.
you know the thing that hooks into the car?
Yeah.
So you can start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The jack.
Yeah, the little
hold. Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah.
Oh no, they couldn't figure that out. That small little thing.
That small thing.
Was confusing.
You'll be shocked to know there's men who don't know either. I once helped a guy. Actually, I think in Smith. You know that curve? Yeah, Smith. How to KZN.
Yes. Okay.
That curve is a bit dangerous.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a puncher there, my thing is always help them.
Because the effect may affect many other people.
It'll affect a lot of other people,
Yeah.
so help them. But this guy didn't know. I'm telling you, he didn't know.
So you
how
found
to-
a guy.
I found a guy.
And who plumbed it?
Punchy said, no, he was trying. And then I was like, okay, let me help this guy quickly. And I realized then,
There are guys like this.
we've made them. Yeah.
They're your sons.
Yeah, they're our sons.
Yes.
They don't know how to change a tire.
What
Yeah, no ramatate.
Well, maybe I should do 10 guys and a puncher and see what
Let's
happens.
do 10 guys and a puncher. I like that. Oh, I like that.
It's the world of YouTube.
Yeah.
It does that to our brains.
Yeah.
We start thinking of stuff.
Of
what else
Yeah.
can you do with this platform?
Yeah.
And I enjoy this, but we're certainly adding other things to it.
Yeah.
Just
lovely.
because we help it along. 2, there's a lot of ideas. It doesn't have perimeters. We don't need
Not
to
yet,
we
not
don't need to
yet.
commission this
Not
or wait
yet.
for YouTube to commission this idea.
Yeah.
We just put cameras in front of us and shoot it and see what happens.
I guess that's why I sometimes get frustrated with our learning institutions. I've always, so many of these universities have got drama as a course, for example, right? Banal studio da, banal camera da. And yet, some of these institutions will take 1,800 students a year, right? Parents paspanang as a janitor. We sang on school to go and study drama.
100,000 rands.
Right? And then the institution does what it does, and then that child must go and fend for themselves. And I've always argued, Hore, why is it that most of these institutions can't go to ICASA, get a license? Why do we not have a UP or Wits or Stelli's TV.
The same way we are able to get community radio stations.
Why do we not have them? Where some of these students start practicing before Bata into the world of nothing.
That's true. Which is a world of hope. Things work out.
Things work out, right? Why can't they do that? Like where we have uni news, because we all agree, Jorge, we've got the bigger numbers in the country are the youth.
Yeah.
So why not have a TV station by a university that has the youth, that talks to the youth, that can even help the youth in curricula. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I always kind of go, how are we not doing this?
We're not thinking. I'll tell you, we're in survival mode. That's my observation of us. We're in survival mode. When you're in survival mode, you either learn to do stuff, survive, or just pedal.
Yeah.
Until you reach the shore. You're pedaling and pedaling and pedaling. You get tired and you keep pedaling. You're not thinking of innovative solutions.
I think
because you think you might drown. So you have to keep doing. And I think that's where we are.
Also, you're so right when you say it's survival, because what it actually is that we unfortunately we have to try and make a living.
That's survival.
Yes. Yeah. So you start something, you're pedaling. Kontlumbari, papa. YouTube
I span.
I
span today.
Yeah.
You don't go anywhere. The whole day you're here shooting things.
Yeah.
You buy the camera. And
that's the difference between us leading Gamla.
That's why I always...
Because the Gamla di khona hore my great grandfather le trust.
Yes.
So
no, and it's true, and it's such a. I always use Meg's example as a story as an example. He started with this thing taking a chance. He was fired from Prime Media. He didn't have a gig, and he even tells a story that his mom used to pay his rent at the time, and he started shooting, and look at what he's been able to build, and hired over 40 young people. Imagine
and
that.
He's working.
From hunger and innovation. And I say, when we're hungry, it's probably when we should be thinking more. But
that's probably it.
Like, how do I
because when you're hungry, you've got nothing to lose.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing
you've got nothing
at
to
all.
lose. Yeah. So you can go anywhere,
So you're right in saying that young kids must be told and taught of the new world they're going to walk into, where you can make millions and millions of rands from YouTube and not have to wait for some big production company to call you and give you a gig. You can be actress and actor shadi monologue every day, and people fall in love with that stuff, and suddenly you become a superstar all on your own.
True.
When they ask, where did he act?
True.
No, it's go to YouTube.
Yeah, go to YouTube.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so true, man. A few years ago, I was blessed to have a neighbor, not Nikitlala area. D-man one day, or Emma, D-boy. He's talking about his son. He says, hey, D-boy, watla an apartment. Yeah, his own apartment now. And this boy was, I think, in grade 10 then.
Yeah.
Good, what do you mean? He just ran into money. Found out that this guy, this young boy, is a gamer.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And somehow was in one of the big competitions and brought a couple of millions. Couple of millions.
Yes.
Grade 10 student. And I remember going home and I was like, what am I doing? Didn't want to get it's a new game.
Yes. It's a new world.
It's a new world. Not many black people, families, or rather parents, know hore. By the way, if umokaira shapu di man, akalo it's a new goda. Ka coding.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
No,
these new careers are popping up.
What do your kids want to do?
Well, my kids are. My other daughter is studying law. Yeah, I don't think she'll be happy if I tell where her niche is.
Okay.
But she has a plan.
Yes, okay.
And
And
then-
it's solid and interesting.
It's solid and interesting.
Okay.
It's solid, interesting. Has got nothing to do with protecting her father, by the way. That broke my heart. Because when your child says, "Ke batla lo etsa law," you're like, yeah, now I'm going to have a lawyer
In the yard.
in the yard. Yeah. No. She's got a field. And then the younger one, also interesting approach. Yeah, film. Because I already told you that.
Yes.
But approach her high is more from a broadcasting point of view.
Got you.
Instead of performance and I mean, she obviously likes performing, but she's looking at herself when she's 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
She
look
said,
at
when
that.
I'm 40.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's-
Imagine when they think that
Yeah.
far ahead.
Yeah.
Jeez. Then she'll have a retirement plan very early in her life.
Very, very early in her life. But, I mean, it's a blessing, dude. It's a blessing to just have bana ba kgonang hore, there's a colleague of mine, Walengamla. Ne ke bua le nqosi ya ka on the phone, a le ko speaking. And then I asked my daughter, hore, do you want something? You know when the call is done, before you say goodbye. You say, are you okay? Do you want something? And she was like, no.
I'm good.
And then this lady said to me, do you know how blessed you are to have a child when you offer? And they go, no, that's too much.
Yeah, I'm good.
That's a blessing.
I'm good, Dad.
Yeah. Because there are kids who would just take and take and take.
Just
Especially when you offer, they just take. Yeah.
That's incredible.
But you have children who like, nah, no, I'm good. Thank
well
you.
done, man.
Yeah.
You've done well to raise them.
My wife did well. Yeah. Ntsonkadi
You don't take-
Ntsonkadi props. It's
you
like,
don't take-
my wife did well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was blessed with the great partner who knows how to get around. And then naspan saka ko spana.
Yeah.
Span. And once in a while, go utlwa le voice ya hore papa o teng. Yeah. You know those things where I remember I was in England or in Europe. I think I was in Prague. And my wife called me and Anchaila, and Kite, in 15 minutes, she must call you and tell you what she did. And my daughter was already crying. But by the time she called, I'm so sorry.
Well done.
And you're like, this child doesn't know her. I'm like 30,000 kilometers away from home,
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Nah, she's done well.
Yeah.
I want to conclude and
Yes, sir.
and talk about your corporate world.
Yes.
How busy is that world? From a distance, it looks like it's probably busier.
It's busy, not as busy as I'd like it to be.
Okay.
But it's busy. It's
Yeah.
busy, and I think, and I think art in this country or artists in this country need to thank the private sector, if you may, for keeping us going.
Yeah.
I think industry aruna, and I don't like calling it an industry because an industry is something that's organized.
True.
This is not.
Yes.
But I think isutlile the artist, old, younger, and it's continuing to do it. It's continuing to do it. It's just, and I think if it wasn't for a lot of the corporate work that whether you're an MC, whether you are part of the PR team, whether you know what I mean, it's just whether you're a trainer. Because our teachers are a trainer,
True.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yes. But I think we need to thank the corporate world for keeping us going.
Yeah.
Where to a point I said to someone, there was a time in my life where I was like, is acting the hustle, or is the corporate the hustle? Which one is the hustle?
And
Or do they feed into one another?
what answer did you? Did you
No,
get?
I then came to a conclusion that they feed into one another.
Yes.
The better public profile you have,
Yeah.
the
You're
more
able to work this
the
side
more
as
you'll be
well.
able to work
Absolutely.
on that side. Yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you
Yeah.
go quiet on one side, you might not be able to do that one. Yeah. Also, I like corporate generally because it's quieter.
Meaning?
It's quieter in a sense that you could not do a TV show for a year, right? Or, for example, last year I did 4
Yeah.
big TV shows. They're still not out.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? Like, You know what I mean? But the public...
You got paid for it a long time ago.
I got paid for it a long time ago. But also, people might say, I say TV. You know, no, I say TV. But I'm still able to live. That's
because
what I'm
of
talking
the corporates.
Because of the corporates.
Yes.
You're able to sustain yourself, etc., etc. And then these shows are going to come out now, and people will be like, hey, you busy, ne? No, I was busy last year.
Such a long time.
Lama show wabona manje. So what you did last year in 2023. You know, they're still not out. And that's the thing about TV. Sputla used to joke about it like that. Sputla used to say, hey, muna, the TV show before they go on air, before they flight. Do you believe child support? Because do you believe child support? No, that was 2022.
It's clear.
And you know, so it's that type of thing where I think we all have to sort of work on branding ourselves, right? Personal branding.
I think you've done well to be so strongly represented in the corporate space.
Right.
Your face and together with Mam Lillian Dube's face is associated with a brand in such a solid way.
Right.
Should they change you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what little guy.
Yeah.
I promise you.
It's happened. It's happened where people were like, hey, there's a guy.
Did they change this very brand?
They didn't change, but I was just not here.
Okay.
You know, because I carry no Kispana everywhere.
Yeah.
I was just not here, I think for a year or two, where the company was like, okay, we'll slot in another
this new face.
Another face. And people literally went, you know, I mean, you know, one of the running joke go Clientele is that we constantly, every time I go to the office, I constantly bump into young people from call centers who say, Esh, Protes, arasa tseba on re reng no. Bo mama ba phone para ngwana ke khopela bolela le Desmond Dube. What thing? They don't understand or no. The man it's a PR and brand ambassador work, but he's not always at the office.
No, he doesn't pick up the phone.
But then once in a while, when I'm at the office, I actually do that. Yeah, I go, the customer, then I'll call them, and then I'll say, I don't know much about this particular product, but here is a guy who will help you further.
That's good.
And people are just happy or
of course.
Yeah, you know.
No. Your establishment with that brand is mind-blowing. Even now, on my show, and actually on a lot of shows on 2000, your voice is there.
Yeah.
Call Radio 2000.
No, of course.
Yes. You see that.
Yeah. SMS 41076. SMS 2000.
You say that. It's right there with your voice. There he goes.
Somebody said, Diman Hatsuha. He could do Hatsu. Hey, Oliver shoot an advert. I'll do line for line. Exactly, you know.
Can you?
I can, yeah.
Let's see.
But I also know the products well.
Let's see.
You know. Which part do you want?
Any part. You pick any part that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yes, let's hear.
SMS David to 41076 and we'll call you back. SMS now.
Don't do that. Actually, we might just try. Is that a Clientele number?
Look, there are different numbers for
different.
It's one of the numbers. Yeah. I just don't know for which radio station, because most of them are for radio stations. You know, there's different numbers for different radio stations. So
suddenly they're going to get David. What?
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of SMS saying SMS David.
Yeah.
What happened here?
Yeah, please don't SMS that number. I don't know. I don't know if it's even a real number, but
that's amazing. Yeah. No, I love what that has done, man. The brand association has proven something interesting.
Yeah.
Because Clientele is one of the biggest spenders, television spenders in the country. And because we work with a different brand in this office.
Right.
And when we always look at competitive numbers, like, you can't beat these guys. Yeah. They truly believe in this medium. And now, with this slow move towards radio, and which is starting to become a solid thing, it's quite interesting to see it as well. And we hope, since I'm a radio guy, I hope it's working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Look, I also think it's, when they say buyers are believers, I think it's a group of people who really want to do right by their customers.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not just saying that because or I get paid, but I think I get that sense. I get the sense that it bothers the clientele management if there's like a couple of complaints, and it's the product, and it's not the technicalities of Motona Sapatala, and that kind of stuff. It does bother them, and I think we want that kind of business in the country.
True.
where people, management listens and says our customers don't seem to like that one.
Let's do it better.
Yeah, let's do it better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, man, it's such an honor, Tiak.
No, in fact, the honor's mine, man. The honor's mine. When I got the call to come, I was like, I don't even think I finished reading that message properly. I promise you.
Yes.
Yeah, ke bone fela hore ke nna from, yeah. Correct. Yeah. Yes. Do you have coffee? Yeah. Do you have coffee?
Wow,
I'm coming.
man.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah.
I think.
And then we both got sick.
Yes, same
We
time.
both got sick.
This could have been recorded like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. we both got sick, and I was like, man. And I was so happy and grateful to you for calling me.
Because I did call that
yeah, you
morning
did call,
to say,
yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. And then I realized, Hore, because I was sick, but I didn't want to disappoint the process.
You would have forced it.
I would have forced it. No. Yeah, no. Suburban Bliss, So when you called, you freed me. I was able to say, hey, funny enough, I also, because I think there's a bug going on.
Yeah, no. It hit me. 2 days knocked me out.
My prayer in my life, talking about that, my prayer in my life has always been to have the ability to expose my children to as much as I can.
Yeah. Have you pulled it off so far?
So far, so good. I mean, it needs resources and that kind of thing. But I have. I have. VT mentioned this, where he was talking about how Rona Machita, we moved to the suburbs. But if it's up higher, V12 engine.
Oh, yes.
See, and a part of it is that caged mentality. You keep going back there instead of finding a way of bringing some of those guys to this side, to expose them to this side. I once worked on a project, massive, Coca-Cola. I think I can say that, massive. This was just before the World Cup.
Okay.
So you can imagine the budget. It's about Coke.
Everybody throwing money.
There was a lot of money.
Yes.
There was a lot of money. But I remember that we had to do an event, go Cape Town. But part of this event was to get the high-end executive, particularly Patli said,
okay.
And one guy who was a CEO had never been to Cape Town.
Whoa. That doesn't make sense.
Precisely.
What happened to this guy?
Had never been. You know what I mean? And that's when I realized, what's about exposure and faith? It's a blessing. Just go out in the world. You know how other people live. Know what people eat. Know. And I think even some of the issues that we're struggling with, you may call it xenophobia. It's because people don't have exposure. They don't have a picture of why that other person could have come here.
Yes.
And why we need to be appreciative of the space, even though but people are coming here because they look at us and they go, hey,
there's
mana.
Mana is there.
There's something there, man.
Milk and honey is there.
Milk and honey is there. Yeah. So exposure is the key.
Something else.
The key. Our job, together with musicians and is to make it look easy.
Even soccer players.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's to make it look easy. Yeah. And I think some people take that to heart. So people watch us and they go, I'm not sure.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Oh, that ain't a shy.
Acting.
Baba ngasha didi.
Warren Masebola told me, no, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Sky trial.
Yeah. No, it's quite trial. You asked me that question and you never followed up.
Yes.
Hore, do I find sometimes find characters
acting difficult?
You know. And my answer is yes. You know, there are characters that are so deep, you know, that you have to leave yourself.
Sure.
I did a play called I See You. I'm sure you saw it there.
It's in the list.
Yeah.
Yes.
I See You. Now, I See You was a story about, you can hear, the subject matter is difficult. It's heavy. I See You was a play about a night that went wrong, right? Ex-Umkhonto weSizwe guy, who is now a policeman in the new government.
Dispensation. Yeah.
And he's obviously bored, but you know, I'm earning. And one night he comes across, they stop the Wanale roadblock, and they stop a car. And this car, but America, but America, on the accent of media and he's a bit disrespectful towards my character, and things go wrong. So that's the whole play.
Justice.
You know, because it triggers this boy, the way he sounds, the girl, and you know, attitude. Listen. My father pays for this. You know, yeah, you're a public servant.
Oh, no.
You know that type of thing where, and he loses it. Yeah. He goes back to seeing his comrades die. You know, you know, baby's been cut out of women's stomach, and you know, and all that deep stuff. And he just loses it. He loses it. So that's the premise of the play. The entire play is how that night turns out, you know. And I remember saying, this is not, I'm so glad that when we did that play, the opening of that play was at the Royal Court Theatre in London. And I'm glad that that's where the play started.
Okay.
If this play was at home, I would have had problems.
You think so?
No, I would have had problems.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would have been able to relate to my family. Do that, you know, particularly the rehearsal process.
Okay.
And then have to go home and be loving to my kids.
Jeez.
My wife came to see the show in London, leading us, clearly, because it happened around a time where schools were closed.
Okay.
So they came to London to come and watch. The walk from the theatre to where I was staying was probably maybe, let's say, 10 minutes. 10 minutes walk. Nobody spoke.
After the show?
Yeah. So the Market Theatre then brought that show to South Africa just for a month run. My mother-in-law came to see that show. Can I tell you that until this day, she's never spoken about it.
What?
She kind of mentioned to my daughter, she said, no, my child, I don't want to see your father like that.
Justice.
Yeah. That's how deep that character was.
Yeah.
And how deeply broken he was, that he was bleeding on everybody.
Justice.
You know. So I think it was the first time that I realized what characters can depress you.
As an actor.
Yeah. That was my first thing. Before that, I was like,
that's bad.
Hey, man. And then I realized, for some characters, you're going to have to go to dig deep. You're going to have to be in there.
The person.
Yeah. Part of my research for that, I had to meet ex-Umkhonto weSizwe guys.
Yo.
It was tough, day.
The story.
No, it was
I've
tough.
had one here.
Yeah.
We recorded a 6-hour episode. Yeah. We divided into two.
Sure.
It's hectic.
It was
the stuff
tough.
those guys went
Man,
through.
it was hard.
Sure.
It was hard.
Yeah.
I became, you know, the thing you talking about souls? I now became aware of how broken we are.
Yes.
And what our history in South Africa had done to some of our people.
King David Studio Podcast.